got that already hot. On this other pan, I'm going to put my mushrooms in this other pan right here. Get that on here right here. And voila. You got my mushrooms. I'm going to saute that up individually. If I had some garlic, I didn't actually get to get any garlic. I would have put some garlic inside of this.
So I've never been a pathfinder, right? I've never been a pathfinder, but I know. What'd you say?
We're going to sign you up today.
Understand that even when the problem are surmounting and they're piling up on each other, our words matter, and we must speak what is good even when things are not good.
God has given it to them. So whatever it is that God has given these young people, let's ride on it.
And the reality is that's what young people need to hear. And if our church is not prepared to allow people to be their authentic selves within leadership, then you're not prepared to have young people take over the church.
We're not spending enough time in our AY programs, in our youth fellowship programs, to talk about sexuality and intimacy.
But it is when you choose Jesus that you receive the fulfillment, the meaning, and the reward that only comes with following him.
Pathfinder is an excellent place to give young people a sense of identity and give them leadership skills.
But the most relevant part is the spiritual growth.
God is saying, you are an open book to me. I understand you. I understand your character.
Doing more in the nature and pray or read the scriptures, listen to certain music, whatever that connects me with God.
Meditation is just simply put about that time with alone time with God.
But if you have to wake up at 3 a.m, honestly, and that's the only time where you will get quiet time to spend with you and the Lord, that sacrifice will not go by unrewarded.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Zoom Hope Live. Thank you so much, and I just want to say sorry for the little technical audio difficulties that we're having just now. You're hearing me, and that's great. I've been looking forward to this episode all month long. We have been engaged in just focusing on meditation as a tool to connect, re-engage, and just having that intimacy with Christ. So I am looking forward to what today will be like. I know you're looking forward for me again to say, hey, London, how you doing? But again, London is not here with us. Nonetheless, of course, she's always here with us in spirit. And we're looking forward to her being back. With that being said, I know we're going to have an awesome time today on Zoom Hope Live. But let's clear up some homework. The first thing is, if you're watching on Facebook, please follow us. And of course, on YouTube, also subscribe to the channel if it has been a blessing to you. So subscribe so you can get the various notifications as they come, as we go live, and as we perhaps post videos. There are a litany of videos that's there, past episode, that you can go to and you can be blessed. Go over to our website at zoomopelive.org, and you can interact there. We have blogs, we have past episode and other stuff that you can interact with. If you want to get with anyone on the team, whether it is London, myself, or Spence, our engineer, you can feel free to connect, book us, and we will be happy to be a part of your event, to have a great time with you. Please, we want you to feel free to ask your question, post your opinions, as well as we just engage in our conversation today. Of course, this ministry, we're looking forward to, broaden our scope. So when you go to our website, you will see you have the option there to also donate. You can do that by Cash App or PayPal. Just so into the ministry. We're looking forward to get to the place, build up enough so we can offer scholarships, whatever it is, to be able to make an impact outside of just talking. So we are grateful for you to being here with us. Please share the link. And now that you're here, we want you to see the other persons whom you have been looking at the poster and just anticipating them being here today. The first person is John James Gale. He's here with us. John, what's up?
Not much, giving thanks,
Okay, awesome. What time is it there in Jamaica now?
No, man, I'm in North Carolina, man.
Oh, you're in North Carolina. Oh, okay. I thought you were in Jamaica. Awesome. Well, I'm behind the 8 ball. So in North Carolina, what time is it there?
It's currently 4:07.
4:07. So we're on the same time zone. All right. So tell the Zoom Hope family a little bit about yourself as we go into our discussion today.
All right. I'm John James Gale, as was previously said. I am a songwriter, recording artist. I've been married for 3 years, now living in North Carolina, and I'm actually going into the production side of things in terms of being a producer or whatever. I've been a musician for probably since Larry knew me as a little child.
Yeah, always.
Been messing around with the keyboard.
Singing a lot of gifts.
Been messing around with the keyboard, singing, So music is practically all my life. I've been ministering at church, different programs and so forth. So music is basically a part of my being.
Awesome.
I am music.
Your music. All right, talk about that. You have a single out there that we're going to feature you doing a live. Of course, persons can go over to the various platforms. It's on YouTube, but we want you to also go on iTunes and support and buy his single. But tell us a little bit about that as we feature that song.
All right, so that song was released in last year, May. Was a song that I wrote a while back. As a matter of fact, let me share an interesting fact. That song, I wrote it while I was a part of a group with your sister, Laverne.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Oh, so, Laverne, not watching.
Yeah, so I wrote that song probably 5 years before I even released it. But the thing is about that song, it says the chorus, the most you'll get from it is four words: never lose my praise. And that's what I wanted to get across to people, that this Christian life sometimes it throws a lot of circumstances, a lot of situations, a lot of you may be discouraged, you may be not encouraged, you may be down or whatsoever. But the importance is that the Lord's love towards us is not conditional. It's unconditional. And
Yeah.
our praise have to be such
Awesome.
unconditional. So no matter the circumstances, no matter the situation, never lose your praise.
Awesome. All right, John Gale James, never lose. James Gale, never lose my praise.
If God's been good to you, sing this song with me. Say, hey, I just wanna lift my hands. I just wanna lift my hands and praise the Lord. Yes, I never lose my praise. I'll never lose my praise. Never lose my praise. Oh, no, 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 no. Hey, so don't try to tell me I'm defeated. No, I'm in the Lord's army and I'll fear no foe. God's my guide and shield, so to war I'll go. The devil is under my feet, he can win no more. Never lose my praise. I'll never lose my praise. No matter what the devil throws at you, come on. Oh, never lose your praise. No, 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 no. Oh, yeah. I'd rather have my Jesus. He is all I need. Don't need no fancy car. There's a heaven awaiting me. Over hell and the grave, God gives the victory. He provides for me, and that's enough for me. Yeah. I'll never lose. When I look at where I've been and where the Lord has brought me to, I can help but praise Him. I can help but praise Him. So listen. No matter circumstances, no matter disappointments, never lose the praise. When your friends forsake you, never lose your praise. Keep them coming, cause we'll never lose our praise. Keep on praising the Lord, no matter the circumstances, no matter the situations, no matter how times get tough. The Lord will always come through. He's a strong tower. Oh, yeah. Come on and lift your hands. I just want to lift my hands. God, you've been so good to me. I just want to lift my hands and praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Wow. You want to see me in the background. I was dancing. Sorry, but I was really dancing. Never lose my praise, right? Meditating on Christ, of course, music is so powerful. It takes us into different mood, into that meditational experience. So the next person we're going to talk to, next guest, is Erica Gabriel, who is here with us. Erica, it's good to see you.
You too, Larry. You too.
And of course, just to meet you today, it's a blessing. And I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Erica Gabriel. I am a performer and an educator. Currently, I'm a student music therapist as well as pursuing my doctorate of musical arts at the University of Kentucky. So that's
it. Awesome. All right. So you talk about music therapist. What's that about in a nutshell?
So music therapy is a therapeutic it's a therapeutic form where we use music to heal. Music as the prescribed method of healing. Just like, there's physical therapy that has its own methods or speech therapy. The center of music therapy is music.
Awesome, awesome. That's powerful. That's powerful. Definitely. And maybe in the future we could even have a show just for that. But please introduce us to the song that we will be featuring today. Of course, we'll be featuring another song from you next week, but you have chosen for us to feature Watch and Pray. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm a classical singer. I do sing worship music as well, but I'm trained in my education is in classical singing, and the spiritual is at the center of Black culture here in America. It's Black American folk music, and there are different forms of spirituals, right? There's the ones that would tell stories. There's the ones that would communicate something. There's the ones that were just, connecting us to heaven. This is one of those storytelling spirituals. And basically, it is the story of a mother being separated from her child in slavery. So that's what you're going to watch.
Awesome, awesome. So, folks, connect with this. You have content on YouTube and Spotify, of course. Those will be shared, and others can continue to support and bless you through your ministry. So let's hear the spiritual. Wow, Erica, watch and pray. That's powerful. Sometimes when I'm meditating and I can find songs, I can find these blessed talents and just play them. It gets out of me what I cannot get out by using someone else's voice and someone else's gift. That's just powerful. Watch and pray. Well, of course, the next person who is a part of our panelists is JP. Paul is here with us today. My friend, what's up?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am great. It's so awesome to see you. Of course, I'm always seeing you. I'm always seeing you blessing, always seeing you ministering. But just to have you here on Zoom Hope Live, it means a lot. It means a lot. Tell the viewers a little bit about you as we go
Sure,
forward.
yeah. So my name is JP Japal. Some of you may or may not know me, but when it comes to music, I've been around it my entire life. I've been either singing something or playing something or just up in somebody's musical business pretty much since I was as far back as I can remember. But along this journey, I've been blessed to study vocal performance at Oakwood with Dr. Julie Moore Foster, who is just such an angel. Speaking of which, Erica, you killed that song. But it's just been such a great journey for me, and I love. I'm an artist and a songwriter as well, so just blessed to use my talents, and it's really something that I enjoy.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna feature a song today. Tell us a little bit about that, because of course we want to hear the song, and of course, Zoom Hope family always like to sow into the ministry of those who embrace the call and just go out on the field for it.
Yeah, so the song you guys are about to hear is actually a cover. It's not my song personally. Yeah. However, it's a song that I do really enjoy, and a song with a lovely message. It's called Reckless Love. I don't want to get the original artist wrong, but so I won't say it. But it's just a song that speaks about, how amazing God's love is for us, and that there's nothing that he's not willing to do for us. So I hope you guys love it.
All right, so enjoy this cover, and trust me, you'll be taken away. So meditate on Christ and be blessed.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till leaves the 99 after an earning, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. So good to me. So good. And when I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so kind to me. Oh, the till I'm found. Leaves the 99, and I couldn't earn it. I still don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. It's reckless, There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found. Leaves the 99, I couldn't earn it, I sure don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. So reckless, reckless, I'm so glad he's reckless.
That's just so awesome, folks. I wish you could see what was happening on me, right? As I was listening to that song, I was literally lifted from where I was, and I was really just meditating upon Christ and just thinking about what He will do and what He has done for me. A reckless love. Reckless love. No shadow that you will not light up, no wall that you wouldn't kick down, right?
Yeah.
It is so applicable in personal life. So Gabriel, you could start us off with this. How does music influence the mind to develop intimacy with Christ? Because that's the whole goal, I believe, of music when we consider mind and worship. So you could start us off with this. How does music influence in this way?
So, firstly, something that I'm learning in studying music therapy is how intimately we are connected to music. It is not just an aside to our lives, it's at the center of our cultural life, right? So a lot of people don't even realize how the music they grew up listening to shapes who they become and who they are, all of their cultural references. Everybody can remember the music that their parents listened to, right? And then the music that their parents listened to influenced that, right? So firstly, music is culturally connected to us, right? And then as Christians, we understand the healing nature of music. Whereas there are a lot of people who understand later who might not have grown up in church that music has healing properties, that's something that I have been intimately connected. I'm a PK, right? My parents met in a singing group called the Heritage Singers. So I grew up watching my parents, use music to heal. I might not have had that language for it, but one, culturally, it connects us, right? And then spiritually, it grounds us. A lot of times we think about music as an aside to the spirit. We're going to get to the meat of the service. Those things always work together in tandem to create the spiritual atmosphere that sets people up to have real breakthroughs, not just spiritually, right? Like spiritually is not just this intangible thing that's out there. It's real. The healing is real. The emotional healing is real. And that's how music sets us up. It's intimately connected to our whole core, the core of our being.
Oh, sorry. I know our producer is gonna get me right. But you lift us off in a perfect way, right? You said that music, it dictates who we are. The kind of music that we're around, and how we feed ourselves, it dictates that. And you talk about the healing properties of music. One thing though that you said, and it's powerful, right? You say it connects us and it grounds us and it sets us up for real breakthrough. That's deep, honestly. So tell tell me a little bit about that some more, in your own terms, Jopal.
Yeah, music is super. Well, I'll say this, like growing up, we always heard that, music influences us, and it has these special powers. But like Erica said, when we were young, we didn't have the language to necessarily understand exactly what that meant. And
Yes.
as I'm growing older, or as I've grown older, I should say, we start learning about exactly, physical and chemical things that happen in our bodies when we listen to music. It's not just, well, if you listen to this song, you're going to end up doing the same thing. No, it's because we build like connections. When we listen to certain types of music, our brain releases dopamine that causes us to have, a euphoric feeling. And we connect that feeling with the song, and that song with what the song is about sometimes. Not saying that that's going to happen with every single song, but that's why we feel some songs so strongly, that really, that old rugged cross, we have connections to that song, maybe it helps us and gives us a dopamine boost when we're not feeling so great. And we connect that experience with, a positive connotation. And that's why that's why it has such a strong, I don't want to say hold, that sounds bad, but it has such a strong effect on us. It's not just something that's mythological that we theorize, but it's actual, chemical and physical changes that happen when we listen to it. So that's why it's so powerful. That's why we love it so much. And that's why we feel so connected to it.
Okay. So, and music, then you're saying it, when we listen to the music, we release chemicals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that brings about the connection to the music. So in this context, then, when the music is about Christ or tells a story that perhaps maybe I have gone through, which Christ has led me through it, you're saying it creates that bond and connection.
Right, absolutely. Our brains make a connection between that song and something positive, and that causes us to enjoy it and like it and love it.
Awesome. What has been your experience in with this question, James?
I mean, just thinking about it, like, what he just said, if you should find every single emotion you can think of, anger, sadness, happiness, you can find some music that, can relate to that emotion. That's how much, music is connected to us. Think about, having a down day and then you have to go home to sweep up the house. And you turn on some, some music that's upbeat. Probably my song, Never Lose My Praise, and start moving around the house. That's how much it is connected. As a matter of fact, thinking about the question, I was led to read the story of Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas was in jail,
Yeah.
And, you know, just the power that those things had, you know, chains are broken.
Awesome.
People were set free. That's
Yeah.
so much, you know, music and not just physical chains. Even nowadays, you know, when we look at, you know, church service and stuff, the songs that we select for worship and so forth, you know, when you see people, you know, lives being changed right in front of you, you know, somebody just scream out hallelujah, you know, those are chains being broken just from the power of music. You know, that's how much an influence music has on, you know, our lives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's, you know, when you bring this story about Paul and Silas, right, it clicks, right? Because yeah, we know Jesus is real, right? But the place where we meet Jesus in music is just an awesome place, and what he does and how he works through that, it is to be recognized. And sometimes when we think about developing that intimacy with Christ, I think of really intimacy comes through experience, and the experience that Paul and Silas had, where they were bound, but all of a sudden, just by singing some music, right, singing some songs, that their chains were broken. I would like to hear the three of you just cross discuss a little bit about music and that intimacy with Christ. We could start maybe with Japal a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. You know, they say when we're looking for, or when we're trying to discern the Holy Spirit, and you know, whether Christ is speaking to us, or you know, whether that's just something else, we spend time with him. That's how we get to know him. That's how we get to know his voice exactly. And I think that can be exhibited a lot through music. You know, when we spend time listening to the kinds of music that draw us closer with Christ, you know, it definitely helps to build our intimacy with him. You know, that's not just I mean, sometimes it could be just background music, you know, we're just playing it because we want to, you know, but even subconsciously, I feel like on a level, you know, we're building some kind of connection with him, and we're, you know, spending time with him. And then on a more purposeful level, more intentionally, absolutely, when we take time to listen to you know, Christian or gospel music, you know, songs about the Lord, and you know, all that he's done, and you know, just who he is and stuff like that, when we do it intentionally, even more so, I think it helps us to build intimacy, because we're spending time with him, and we're spending time in a way with him that, you know, sometimes when we do it other ways, it can seem a little bit like a chore. And I think for some people, when we do it with music, it feels a little bit less as I have to do this, and more like, you know, I kind of want to do this a little bit more, just because they're, you know, it's something that communicates messages to us like nothing else can on this earth, you know. And I think that is just, if I was to start like building blocks for how to build connection with somebody, I would start with all the things that are in music. You know, we have different moods and different options and variety, and so much that we can work with. It's very hard for it to become monochromatic, if you will. Yes. So it's very enjoyable, and I think what better way to build a connection with Christ than to spend time that you enjoy with him, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I look at music as a spiritual bypass, right? So when we're in dialogue with somebody, or when we're too earthly bound, you know, the further that we've gotten from, you know, creation and sin, you know, we have just gotten so far away that so many things that were heavenly, that the earth was gifted with, we're farther and farther from it. And so music is one of those things that is indescribable, that is allowed to spiritually bypass all of that and get to people, right? I feel like it's one of the long lasting gifts of Christ, right? I think it's a medium through which the Holy Spirit can bypass a lot of our thoughts, right? There's a lot of scientific evidence about music bypassing some mental blocks, you know, that we have in our brain, which is why it's great to use for healing. But if we're thinking spiritually, we know that all of these things that people describe in an earthly way have a spiritual meaning, right? The same way that we can experience spiritual freedom, you know, in dreams. You know, Christ speaks to us prophetically through dreams. I feel like music is another one of those things that that bypasses language barriers, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? You can connect with somebody. You can have a spiritual moment sitting next to a stranger in a concert or in a praise and worship session, and it's like it sounds very, the veil is lifted, right? Whatever the things that we're carrying that are blocking us from experiencing the spiritual, music has the ability to do. And so as Christians, I want people to be empowered to take hold of that power, right? Empowered to choose music specifically for their own healing, right? There's a term we use in music therapy called the ISO principle. And basically what it is when you meet a client where they're at. So whatever mood they're in, right? You pick music, whether live or recorded, to meet them where they're at. And then you can begin to prescribe music to heal. But first you meet them where they're at. And how many times do we see that in church, right? The praise and worship leader meets somebody where they're at, right? We talk about the week we had, and I know some of you have been through this week, and they prescribe music that will testify to what people have been through. But somewhere in the process of the praise and worship session, what happens, right? We begin to sing about, right, how God will carry us through. And so, it's not just that it makes us feel good, but it also meets us where we're at. So that, I mean, what he is saying, yeah.
I mean, just to add a little bit more on that, and I'll put Pastor Green on it, even after a sermon, the congregation, honestly speaking, might not even heard the sermon, but that appeal song, draw me near, pass me not, oh gentle Savior. A certain conviction comes over you just by the song of appeal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I look at even my life, I mean, I'll spend so much time in prayer. But if I should take, I mean, like, all the songs that I've written within the different moods that I have throughout the day, I mean, I probably release a million or trillions of songs, But that's how connected. That's how connected we are as beings, to music, Anything that you can think about, music is connected there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as a matter of fact, I use music so much to be even a reflective element, with my life. Sometimes I feel that I'm far away from God. I go for a song, I love your voice, your mercy never fails. It just reminds me of what God has done for me. And, it brings me to an intimate place with him.
And my mother, my grandmother, one of the things that I grew up with, right? Because I like to sing too, right? I like music, honestly I do, right? And I can appreciate all kinds of genres, to really enrich my life, because it has been like that for me. But is how, they embrace that as a part of their life experience. So they'll be washing the plates, and there's a music with washing the plate. I was in that bridge era growing up in Jamaica, where we had to use the scrub brush and scrub thing as well. And even that was music, and it forms breakthrough in different experiences. The question on my mind that I would like for us to even, continue with this discussion is as it relates to worship leaders, right? We could start there. What are some of the guidelines, or what are some guidelines that worship leaders can utilize when constructing music in corporate worship? Let's start with James in this one.
All right, so I remember doing praise and worship in church. It's been a while though, but I remember doing praise and worship. There is something that I used to do, not even just praise and worship, even by somebody asking me to sing a special song. I try so much. The Bible says, Ephesians 5 verse 19, sing and make music from your heart to the Lord.
Yes.
I personally think that whenever we're doing worship, especially in the music, the music side of it,
Yeah.
our hearts and minds should be connected to what we're singing, playing, whether it be a musician or a singer. But even the congregation, I mean, I everybody has been to church, but the hymnal songs, you ever notice how sometimes, we just sing them vaguely, we just sing them just because we sing them just because, they say, all right,
number say
and sing. Yes, they say stand and sing, and we just sing. But have you ever stopped to see, the words that you are singing? Lord, lift me up, and I shall stand by faith on heaven's stable land. The person who wrote that song didn't just write them because some words came to them. They wrote it because there was some level of conviction in their hearts. So even by the very songs that we choose for praise and worship, the songs that we sing for the opening song, our hearts and minds should be connected with them before we even sing them in worship.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Gabriel, pick up, please.
So I think I spoke a little bit about this a second ago, but as worship leaders, I think that we can be strategic about the way that we choose music, right? So first thing is know your audience. So if I am picking music for, so my dad is from Trinidad, my mom is from Kansas City, Missouri, right? If I'm choosing music for a West Indian Adventist church, right? That's going to be different than if I sing at a church here that is they mostly do CCM, right? So first of all, the style of music that I'm going to pick for those two churches is going to be completely different than a church in Kansas City, Missouri, with a mostly African American audience, right? So that's the first thing, know your audience. And then second, choose music that takes people through that journey, right? That acknowledges whatever that audience's pain could have been through the week, right? If you have a feel for who you're singing to, then you can anticipate using the Spirit, what they might have been through, right? And then bringing people into a place of restoration and readiness to receive the word, right? And then depending on what the word is, then we have the job again to restore people again and prepare them to go back out into their week. And so we can be as strategic as we want to be about the songs that we pick. I think too many times we just are like, all right, guys, draw it out the hat, and the Spirit works with that and we'll do some amazing things. But just like we go to work and we're strategic about the work that we present, I think that's one of the ways that we can be more intentional.
Yes.
Yeah, your first point, literally, like, you stole it right out of my mouth. I was about to say the exact same thing. But just to add on a little bit, one of the best pieces of advice I've been given for music in general, but especially, in general as a Christian, but especially for, when you're singing at church or when you're leading praise and worship, was from John Stoddard. And he told me, your practice is just as much worship as the day of, I hate to use the word performance, but it's just as much worship as the performance. So a lot of times, we get real passionate when we're on stage and we get, all these feelings, but you have to treat your practice just the same. It's just as important, because if your cup is empty, the analogy says, I think that's an analogy, I'm not the greatest English person, but if your cup is empty, you can't pour into anybody else's, right? So you have to first fill yours and be sincere about it. And make sure that you have an affection for Christ, not just be passionate in the moment, because there's a difference between those two things. And, just treat your practice as it's just as important at what you do prior to, or you and your praise team, or maybe if it's just you, whether you're playing bass, drums, singing, playing clarinet, playing a flute solo, that practice time is just as much worship, and almost more important a little bit than when you go to play or sing at church. We have to treat that as just such crucial time with Christ, and just make sure you worship in the practice room is, I guess, basically what I'm saying. Make sure the worship happens there as well.
And as a matter of fact, just to interject, with what he just said, like, make sure that you're connected. Because most of the times you sing a song and your heart, your mind is not connected to what you're singing, it's going to reflect to the congregation. You're going to notice that, it's all right, let us sing together. And only probably one person sing or two person sing, because we are not connected with the Spirit, and the Spirit is not connected with the congregation. So all of us, we basically disconnected. So with Joe Paul's point, we have to be connected, right?
Yeah, true. And I appreciate the contributions just now, and I believe they're on the same wavelength. And too many times we take for granted, starting from what you have said, James, about what we have that we're using. And that's what Christ wants us to do. He wants us to connect with what He has given us: the music, the songs, the lyrics, the sound, the music, the rhymes. All of these things, the Lord placed them in the atmosphere of worship for us to be able to just envelop them with ourselves, so that He can inhabit us and connect with our different experiences. Honestly, even in preparing a sermon, I do not take it lightly. It's not an overnight thing. Uh, mark you will perhaps find me wrestling the night before still, and delving into the word, but by no means it is going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be a couple weeks, perhaps, maybe wrestling with what I am going to use within a corporate worship experience. And I believe the same is when it comes on to music. It should not be just a spur of the moment. Let's do that. We should seek God and ask God about how do you intend to use music in worship today, with a diverse group of generation divide, a diverse group of nationality, a diverse group of experiences, of pains, of pleasures, of joy. And the Lord, I believe, will use music to be able to enrich lives. And that's what I got from the discussion just now. Japal, you're contributing something?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
Awesome.
I can, but I think a lot of times too, we focus so much on the physical, actually singing, or but there's so many other things that make a performance great as well. Such as making sure you get your music out to your praise team singers on time. If you're a praise and worship leader, sometimes I think we as musicians as well can be a little last minute. I hate to say it. Yeah. But we just take for granted, because we have talented people. They're gonna learn the music. But just administrative things, although they're not the actual active singing, they make it so much better, and they make the bond between your praise team better, and that makes the experience, the worship experience, better. Because like one of my choir directors always says, you can always tell when people are singing in a group and they don't like each other.
that's what a thing,
so
right?
there are some non-tangible things that make singing and music and praise and worship better as well. So that's just my closing statement on that bit.
All right. Listen what Colin Major, our social media connection, has to say. And of course, others, you can please remember, make your comments and question. It says, at the core of any true worship ministry is the desire to see people glorify God. Worship leaders must themselves be passionate about God's glory. You hear that? Right? They must have no other agenda than to lift up Jesus. Erica, tell us a little bit about that. As a worship leader, how do you connect with this statement?
So it's interesting. I get to, my trauma is showing, right? Growing up as a PK.
Yeah.
What I hear first is, we must be perfect, right? And that's not what the comment is saying, but that's what I hear first. Yeah. And so what I actually think he's saying is that we have to be passionate in our own personal relationship, which goes back to what JP was saying and what James was saying as well, right? But I want us to allow worship leaders to be fully human. And I've realized that some of the times that I have been most connected in worship is when I realize my need for Christ, right? And so the no other agenda thing is real, right? Because a lot of times we think the opposite. We think that I have to get up here and I have to show them the exemplary version of some Christian ideal, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the wrong agenda. The
Yeah.
only right agenda is to acknowledge that you're not right. You ain't right. You ain't right. You ain't gonna be right, right? And it is the grace of God that is even the humility that you feel, knowing that you should not be used, and watching God use you on a stage is it's so humbling. It's so humbling. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. That's true. We should not have another agenda other than to present ourselves authentically and humbly.
Yeah, and I believe a PowerPoint that you have here is about acknowledging our reliance on God as worship leaders, acknowledging it, and he said spot on, right? So acknowledging. So in other words, the worship leader must be in surrender. you know. All right, I'm gonna use this one for you, James. Colin again, and folks, others you're watching, please feel free if you're thinking something, question or comment, post it. We could use it. So here it says worship leaders need to remind themselves constantly of the sacredness of Christian worship and approach their ministry with godly fear and humility, praying that God will use them as they lead out.
You know, I may end up contradicting myself, and I'm gonna ask Erica and Jopa, but have you ever, like you have a series of songs that you say, all right, we're gonna use this for praise and worship, but going up there, there's a little needle sticking in your mind, and you said, no, sing, instead of singing Draw Me Close, sing this one. Sometimes it's the Spirit speaking to you. I mean, there are many a times I've found myself, like I choose this song to sing, and then all of a sudden something else comes up. The Spirit said, no, this is what we need to this is what I want to leave with the congregation. We have to think about what message do you want to leave with your congregation at the end of the day. What if when we came to church the only thing we heard was praise and worship, then what blessing or what message would you have left with? So we have to ensure that even the very, I may go off some point or some way from the initial whatever, but I'm saying we have to think about the message. We have to think about the message that we as praise and worship leaders, or even the Spirit himself, want to leave with others.
I totally agree with that, right? There are a few times, right, in my experience as a pastor, I get up to the lectern and I'll say to the congregation, you know what, the Lord just places on my heart to preach. Many times it's not that I have this thing just fall out of nowhere and drop in my lap, right? It is that through my own, connecting back to Erica's response, my own devotional life, meditational life, my own pursuit of intimacy with Christ and preparation and using my giftedness, using what the Lord has given to me. When I reach the Lord, bring something and say, put this out. And I believe the worship leader using music should be in the same stand. So you can watch the spirit. It's not the spirit that follows us in worship, and I believe that's the point that you're making, John. It's not the spirit that we follows us, but we should be willing to follow the spirit when we're doing or engaging ourselves in worship. All right, so I don't see another. I was looking to see if I see another comment. Oh, here's one to say, we will only give or all when we sense. Oh, yeah. So this one is for you, JP. We will only give or all when we sense the need for Christ, and allow yourself or ourselves to be used by God, used by Him when you minister. This is from Joseph Gray. What's your take on this?
I'm just taking one more moment to think about it. I agree. It's it's as simple as we can't. There's no purpose in doing anything if it's not for God's glory. And we can't do anything without Him. And as humans, we don't want to. Our nature is to like try to do things on our own. We love to say, well, I can do it. I believe in myself, and that's all great and good. But in actuality, it is for Christ, and it's that we do need Him to accomplish every single thing in life. We were born in sin and shaped in iniquity, and that has never sat well with me. But I also know that by His stripes I'm healed, and it's because of that, because of God's sacrifice, that I can even sit here today and not have to go and slaughter a lamb every so often, and that I'm blessed to have the ability to have services, although COVID kind of put a damper on that, in a sense. But still publicly, and I have all these privileges, and it's not anything of my own. My voice is not because I decided when I was born I'm going to be a singer. It was not because of me, but it's just because God saw fit to give me this gift to glorify Him. So I absolutely need Him, to help me and show me how to do that. And I have to ask Him, what would you like to come from my instrument at this point? Or what would you like to hear? Or what do you think the people in front of me need to hear so that I can help bring them closer to you? So, that comment, spot on. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask everyone, and then, what do you think about most, right? When you are ministering, do you think about who you're ministering to, or you think more about yourself? What's the dynamics that goes on when you are about to do a special or lead out in ministry, in a worship session? What goes to your mind? What do you think about?
So the less prepared I am, this is just in performance in general, right? I know we get scared to call singing, in the church performance, but that's what it is. It's a skill. Like a Christian doctor doesn't get afraid to call it a surgery. You know what I mean? Like
you're right.
It's a. I just want to free us from that.
That's right.
You're right.
It's a skill set. It's a profession for me. So yes, like when I am in any kind of performance, but especially in worship, if I'm underprepared or if there's something going on with the band, or, I know that, somebody is missing from the praise team, I'm going to be more likely to be centrally focused, right? The more prepared, the better ability I have to approach, the worship, thinking about the people and being in tune with the Spirit and saying, okay, what is it that they actually need right now? So that's full honesty. Yes, full honesty. I do my best to be prepared, but the Spirit is He still uses you even when you're centrally focused. It's just that I understand that worship is for me too as well. And so a lot of times when I have been centrally focused and someone else was still able to get something, I'm so grateful to God and I'm so grateful to the Holy Spirit for getting through and still using me. But I know that I missed out on my chance to be present, right, and available during that time.
Maybe we are brothers and sisters, Erica. Yeah, and I said that just because, well, I'm just going to say about the same thing that I said earlier. I mean, if you don't put yourself at a place where, you know, most of the times I'm going to sing, I think about the words that I'm actually going to sing. And sometimes, as I told you before, the Lord might say, hey, that's not the song. Look again. Go through the songbook. Go and Google and search something else. Just because, you know, maybe that song that I was about to sing at the moment, you know, that's not the testimony somebody else needs to hear. You know, I always pray this prayer, probably, you know, God probably get tired of me saying the same thing all the time. I say, hey, not I be seen, but you through me. You understand? Sometimes I go some places and, well, it's a performance, as she says. I was on this choir. They said that we don't perform, we minister. But anyways, I am caused to reflect on, you know, different times in which this has happened to me. You know, like, you know, God says, hey, sing another song. And sometimes when you're finished, you know, you go outside and somebody just come up to you and say, hey, man, I needed that. I mean, you know, that for me is like, you know, I mean, if it's a concert and you were supposed to pay me, you could keep the payment. That alone, just because I reached that person through, you know, that ministry or that performance, you know, that's enough for me. So before a ministry or a performance, you know, I always ask God that less of me and more of Him.
Yes.
Can I just comment on that
Continue.
ministry and performance thing really quick?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's on my heart. It's in my spirit right now. I think that we are ministers, right? And I think it's because a big portion of my time singing is not spent in the church because, again, it's my job. I carry ministry wherever I go. And I think that when, you know, I feel like the church, this is a little off topic, has the tendency to box us in.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Only use your gifts for God, only use your gifts for Christ. It's like I'm a minister. So no matter where I'm going, no matter where I'm employing my voice, my
You don't
gift.
have to tell somebody you're a minister. You don't have to tell somebody. It's just like buying a car. I mean, you don't have to tell somebody that, hey, you're driving a car because, you know, the car is doing what it's supposed to do. You know that you're in a car.
Yes, it's all ministry.
Right.
It's all of it. So I'm just agreeing with you, John James. That's all.
Yeah, and you know, I like that, right? JP, I'm not cutting you out, so you can you can make your contribution, right? But even on that, right? The Lord wants us to be that honest and genuine. And sometimes what we do, we try to clothe ourselves under a false sense of spirituality, and it makes us not being available to what God wants to do to us. So I said, you know what? I'm a pastor, so I'm just availing myself to be used in ministry by the Lord, and I go blindly stand up in front of God's people and make a shame of myself. And by me doing that, I'm making a shame of the person who caused me and placed me there in the first place, because I am representing Him. So this is what the Bible said in 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whatever you eat or drink, or whatever you do all to the glory of God. So in other words, God expects that we're going to eat, we're going to drink, we're gonna perform. But what he's saying is that when we do these things, it should be to His glory. So there's some person who want to get tied up into the English performance versus ministry. If I eat a berry, right, it is to give God glory. So I say I don't eat. I only minister. When I'm eating, I don't eat, I minister. Come on,
right.
It's we have to be honest, and God can use that honesty.
I guess then we can say that music ministry is performance from the heart.
Yes. Empowered by God. All right. So no, time is just trucking away, right? But what biblical advice then can you give about the emotional power? And the Bible is replete with this now, right? The emotional power of music and its vitality in worship, whether it is public or private experience. JP, you could start us off with this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, the Bible is just riddled with examples of, and I think it's very intentional. The first place we encounter music in the Bible is in Exodus, right? And that's like very, if not Genesis, where better to start with music, right? And we see it, all when David played for King Saul, and we see it when Miriam was playing the tambourine, and Psalm 150 says, praise him with the timbrel and dance and high sounding cymbals and all of that good stuff. I just think that in all these cases there was intention. That's the first thing I usually draw from it. It's great to a lot of times, I hear people say, oh, well, they be singing, so they'll be all right. Or when you're nervous about something and they're like, oh, well, you're a singer, so it's fine. But it's like, I don't think I'm gonna sound bad. But what I really hope is that my intention is correct, if that's a good word to use. And I really hope that that I really stay. I sometimes we doubt ourselves. Like I'm thinking, if there was a madman, is my singing going to calm that spirit? Is my tambourine playing going to be enough for the rejoicing of an entire nation getting out of bondage? And in the Bible, I find encouragement in that because God has not changed since those times. So it's like if He was able to have these people minister in these ways, imagine with all the, and they have no Zoom, they had no mic. Literally all they had was some instruments, which we have way better ones now. So like it's almost kind of a little bit of a bad thing to doubt. I mean, but I think through all of that though, I think the evidence that I usually pull and the first thing that I see is that these people were connected and they worshipped with intention. And I think that those are two things that we should always be mindful of. Not to say you don't have to, get bogged down in it and think like, let me make sure I crescendo on measure 79 every single time I sing the song. But, I think when having those things gives us freeness to worship every time.
Yes.
And it might be different every time, but the intention and the connectedness is the same every time. And that's where that's what I draw from all these instances of, just great worship and musical instances in the Bible. And then also, sorry, I know I'm speaking a little long here, but just to add to that, Proverbs mentions that we should guard our minds and our hearts. And I think that we should do that as well when we're thinking about, which songs we sing, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just my last bit on there, but yeah.
Yes. That's powerful. That's powerful. And I'm gonna say something afterwards because my mind have been processing and I want to contribute as well. So let me hear Erica and then John on the same question about emotional connect from the biblical base.
So in Zephaniah, I believe it talks about how God rejoices over us with singing.
Yes.
Like that right there.
The whole sermon.
Every time, right? Because in the same verse, it's talking about how he's a warrior for us, right? How he'll fight for us, right? How he's mighty. And so the fact that both of those things exist in the same space for me really validates my spiritual connection to music and how we said, like, this is that song, this is how I fight my battles, right? That sometimes you can fight with your voice, right? That music is a tool to war with.
Come on now.
Also a tool simultaneously to soothe and to rejoice over. That music is like a one and one and done. It covers all of the bases, right? We can use it to war, right? We can use it to rejoice. We can use it to heal. And the more that we understand the power of music to do those things, the more that we can employ it strategically and specifically to fight our spiritual battles here, right? So that's the fact that God is the example and he does that. I'll speak. Let me stop, because I will go in on
Stop preaching.
me.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
That's
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Thank you for the contribution, James.
I mean, they have both said it all, but let us go back to what I said earlier from Ephesians. It says, "Sing and make music from your heart to the Lord." Think about the children of Israel, you know, at that very moment when they were crossing the Red Sea and they realized that, hey, Pharaoh's army is really captivated in the water. Come on, let us sing and dance and see. You can imagine them singing from their heart to the Lord.
Yeah.
We as, and not only musicians, but even, you know, people like, you know, Pastor Green, who can sing that well, you know, sing from your heart.
Put on your soul. I forgive you.
Sing from your heart, you know, sing from your heart. Remember the things that God has brought you through, you know. Think about, you know, how God has brought you over. I mean, for me, I can't just sing for sing's sake. You know, I've directed a few choirs, and you know, I keep on telling them, hey, before you go up on that choir loft, think about where He's brought you. You know, think about the things that He has done for you. Not only you, think about the things that He has been doing from, you know, Genesis right down to what He's about to do in Revelation. You know, think about those things. You know, music, God made that as, you know, one of the most powerful elements of worship. And as I said before, you may go to church, you may sit in the congregation, and you may not hear nothing else, but I guarantee you, if a good song is sung or ministered or performed, you're going to hear it, and it's going to convict you, because the Spirit of the Lord dwells within music.
Yeah, and you know, I remembered when I just started music ministry, by the way, and I asked, it was Pastor Dr. Johnson at the time, about, you know, preaching, and I remember he said this to me, aim for the heart, you know, and that resonate with me from then, you know, and you know, music connects with us emotionally. And Japal, you relate to the Exodus experience, and John goes back to it. Erica get deep. She go into prophetics in Zephaniah, right? But when you look at even in Genesis, the Bible says the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep, and I believe that's what, as I listen to all of you are contributing, music connects with the spirit, with the emotion in different ways. How it moves upon the face of the deep. I can just imagine the chaos, the nothingness, but just the movement, the sound of God on that. It creates something. So I tend to believe that music, when it connects to us emotionally, it really creates that purpose, you know, that God has in store for us. You know, earth was nothing, but when music moved, look where we are now. One of the most the most beautiful planet, well, we all that we know, right? And you know, it's awesome. I think also in the experience of Saul, right? When Saul was in misery, he called upon David to play the harp. So, you know, so that is a way of connecting to the emotion. I don't believe music initially connects with the intellect, and sometimes we want to do that. The first thing we start to say, all right, let me find a music to connect with the intellect. But the first thing perhaps we need to think about is to find music that can connect with the emotional experience of people. And sometimes when we say emotion, we get scared, and start running all over. God connects with us emotionally before He teaches us, right? And that's awesome, right? And just to correct James, right? My sister is a singer, right? And we're twins, so at least I can hold half. but I really appreciate what has been said in terms of that emotional connect, and I spur something in my response now that I want you to agree or disagree with me. Should we run from the emotional connect then in music?
You can't.
I disagree.
It would be impossible.
It would be to ignore.
Yeah.
It would be to ignore what people are actually going through. And there is nothing more unsettling than seeing people come to church, come to worship, and be ignored, right? To be made to feel like what they are going through is not what other people are going through, right? And music is a way that gets people to acknowledge they might never say it, right? But if it is sung to them, if it is an experience that is spoken of in a song, you will see a release happen, and they might leave and never speak about what's actually going on in their life. But the emotion is real. People are in a really dark place, and you can't ignore what people are actually feeling and be effective.
And even in retrospect, the joy in hymns seems as if I'm getting a little freezing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's my internet. But even with hymns, right? When I go back in the hymns with are just songs in general, right? I tend to believe that yes, they have doctrinal truths and stuff, but most songs seem to write out of an emotional life experience, and as you say, Erica, to ignore that is to really ignore what God really wants to do and what He can do in our life or or through our ministry. Joe Paul, we are really out of time, so let me hear your contribution as we prepare to go in the last question.
No, absolutely. I'll make it simple for you guys. I agree.
Did you hear me?
Oh yeah. Oh, hello.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying that.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I
Joe
was
Paul.
just saying. I agree. Yeah, there's two kind of sides of emotion. We have passion and we have affection. And passion is often thought of as short, fleeting, but affection is something that's built over time and long lasting. I think that's what we should be aiming to to build. So I definitely agree. And both of those include emotion. I mean, they're two halves of the same coin. So I definitely think we cannot ignore the emotional aspect of that music has on people.
Now, as I've intimated, right, and of course the viewers also, for this entire month, we have been zoom in our focus on connecting with Christ through meditation. So meditations as a means to re-engage, reconnect, and of course we tear away the phobia from meditation that many persons have. And we have concluded that music is one of those instruments that can be used in one's meditational experience or even devotional experience in arriving at intimacy with God or in pursuing intimacy with God. So I want you, starting from John, then Erica, then JP, please give a message to those who they're wishing to use music as an integral part in their time for meditation upon Christ.
Well, I mean, we can say it over and over again for the whole entire evening. I mean, the spirit is connected with music, and should I go back to Pathfinder days, the was it the law? I don't remember what it was, but it says something like this. It says,
Keep a song.
keep a song in your heart. Go on God's errands.
That's it.
You know, I don't think it can be more profound than that. You know, whatever aspect of your spiritual life, you know, as I said before, there is a song, there is something to you know, to connect music and those emotions, or you know, that sense of meditation, you know. So seek to just make sure that, you know, whatever music we listen, you know, whatever struggles we're going through, ensure that the spirit and the music are one, and we also are one with the music and the spirit. And you know, that way we will, you know, develop our intimacy with Christ. We'll find that our music, the thing that we listen, our minds, you know, it will be much more intact with what the purpose God has, you know, for each of us.
So I just want to empower believers to be strategic about the way that you use music. My message is the same, right? Get what you need, even in your personal time. Think about what I said with the ISO principle, meeting yourself where you are, right? Decide if you need to be lifted out of somewhere, if you need your feelings to be acknowledged and validated, and then choose the music for your meditative purposes based on that, right? Also, I'm not endorsing, I'm not getting paid by this app, but there's an app called the Abide app, and it's a Christian meditation app where they use spoken meditations, and you can choose instrumental music behind it. And I just want Christians to know that there is a meditation app specifically that is tailored for us. So empower yourselves to use music in your time of meditation and prayer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll the advice I would give would be to not be scared. I know that doesn't sound like something that a lot of people go through, but I think we don't try a lot of things because we're nervous that, you know, maybe it's not going to work out the way it should, or maybe it's not going to work out the way we've seen it do for other people. But maybe that way isn't how it's supposed to go for you, you know? Maybe your experience as a worship leader, or as, you know, just worshiping with music in your private time is going to be different than somebody else's, and that's okay. And it's normal. We all don't experience music the same way, but we all do have experiences that draw us closer to Christ. So I just want to encourage you, if you need to seek a mentor musically, or, you know, you don't know where to start, you know, just reach out to someone trustworthy, someone, you know, maybe from church, or your pastor, even maybe they can recommend somebody. And, you know, start small if you haven't started already. And if you are somewhere and you just need to go further, you know, just start where you are and just attack it, and don't be afraid. Just go for it. Consult Christ, of course. And I'm sure you will end up just having a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I got a little bit frightened just now. I lost my internet connection totally. I don't know what's happening, but Erica, Colin said that your contribution was to be strategic. You know, that's important. And I didn't get to hear James fully. But of course I came up on the tail end of JP as it relates to seeking someone else who can help you in using music as a means of you arriving to that connect with God. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thanks, Erica. Thanks, John, and thanks, Japal, for just being on Zoom Up Live and just sharing your experience with music and how that connects or help to connect you with Christ and develop intimacy. So definitely we'll talk a little bit after this. But folks, honestly, music is the beat of your heart. I remember this growing up, right? I used to like to place my head on my mother or my father's chest and just listen the beat of the heart. And because of how good that was with me, I did the same thing with my children. And sometimes they fall asleep just listening to that heartbeat. Well, God wants you to understand that He can speak to you. He can help you to use music in those intimate moments to really re-engage and connect with him. So this week, find that song. Perhaps you want to go and search up Erica, or John, you want to go and buy his single, or Japal, you want to just go on his website and connect with his songs that he has sung. Do that. But whatever you do, make sure that you appreciate the value that music can actually add to your Christian experience. So remember, we want you to go on our website. Please interact there. You can have past episode, and we're just asking you to share it with your family, share with your friends, and be blessed in the experience. The website is zoomhopelive.org. Subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on Facebook. May God bless you and may God keep you. I am Larry Green. So on behalf of the entire team, London and Spence, it's good having you with us on another episode of Zoom Hope Live. See you next week. God spare life. Be blessed.
I've tried it all. My fight is more like a crow. Yeah, I've been broken and I've been hurt.